So I'm going to start by briefly telling about myself. So I'm Dr. Namrata Singh by qualification. I'm a pediatrician and a medical writer for around 15 years now, and the founder member at Turacoz. Turacoz was started around 8 years back with an objective of providing medical writing services to pharmaceutical and biotech companies. And the reason why we are having this webinar today, and why I normally like to talk about, how what are the requirements, and what a medical writer should know about, is because when we started the company, it was definitely a challenge to get skilled resources to work on the projects that were given to us by our clients. So there was definitely a gap between what we are taught in our academic settings and then what the industry is expecting from us. So this endeavor of Turacoz to kind of have these webinars, and there are other training programs that we conduct, is kind of the whole objective and the purpose behind it is to bridge this gap by sharing our industry experiences with people who are interested to become medical writers, to show them a glimpse of what it is actually when you enter into a job, and what is expected from you. So that is what this the webinar for today is also going to be. I'm going to start sharing my screen now. So my talk today is more from a perspective of what a medical affairs team would expect, and where does a medical writer fit into it strategically. It's not only the end product, the end result that we are seeing, that what documents the writer is going to be creating, but also how the writer actually supports the medical affairs team in the product development at various stages of the product development. So these are the key points which I would be covering today. A brief on medical affairs. Why am I talking about medical affairs? Because I want all of you to understand that what are the expectations of the industry from a writer and the company, so that when you are applying for jobs or when you are interacting with them, you would understand that what is the big why behind it. Why are we writing, and why are we doing this job? The second part is of the session today would be the product life cycle and role of medical writer, depending upon at what stage of the product development that particular product is. Then a bit about medical writing, how many types of medical writing are there. I have tried to kind of collate some samples of the work which our team has done, and just to give you a glimpse on how the final deliverable looks like. Then what are the essential skill sets, what are the exact must do's, and the skills which you should have to become a successful medical writer. And then there is a training and placement initiative by Turacoz. What do we offer in that? And in the end, we are going to be having a question and answer session. So I would encourage all of you to keep on posting your questions as and when you feel that you need to ask something during the session itself. And we will collate all the questions in the end, and then I would be answering all the questions at the end of the session. Is a image what I created in one of my previous sessions, and I find it very interesting and to share. So you see that there are so many different designations, so many different terminologies with which these writers are called. So it can be like CME writer, medical communicator, grant proposal writer. Then there is clinical research writer, healthcare marketers, healthcare journalists, technical writer, promotional writers. So depending scientific writers. So depending on various companies, the terms might be different, but the skills which are required majorly they stay the same. Now, what does a medical writer do? So now we spoke about from the industry's perspective of how the product is developing, what all activities do they require at each stage, and what type of documents might be, might be required at each product development stage. Now the writer normally communicates about the product can be drug, device, diagnostic, or maybe, vaccines or consumer products or whatever, and disease management and prevention to different audiences. So the audiences may be different, they may be regulatory bodies or policy makers. So if you are writing a document for a policy maker, so probably it has to be backed by science, but then your language has to be something, which is not very complex and which does not have too many medical jargons for them to understand. Internal stakeholders are again, the people who are in the company and who would like to know about what is being published, what communications are being created. So this is normally for the people who are in the company itself. Healthcare professionals, where they are doctors, nurses, pharmacists, lab technicians, so writing for them about disease and the product. And then finally patients and consumers who would actually be using that product. So there the language has to be like lay summaries and lay person like language where, they can understand. So now what do these different type of documents have one thing in common, which is all these documents, all the communications what are created for these various set of target audiences, it follows a very clear scientific communication strategy. So that is created at the beginning. So sometimes, a writer would come sometime later when the strategy is already created and you might not be a part of it. Then it is your responsibility to understand and to ask these questions, that what was the strategy, what is the key message, what is being, communicated, so that when you are writing, so it is aligned with that message, and it is communicating the same key message what the company had decided. Now the role of a medical writer, so this is something from what, that the poll question which was there. So you work as a writer, you work as a reviewer, you work as a quality control specialist, where you are, responsible for the quality. Sometimes even project management and coordination with other team members is required. And as you grow ahead in your career, you work as a mentor and as a leader. So at what stage you are at, the responsibilities would be different and the expectations would. Now, how do you start your journey as a medical writer? So I normally this is how I started my journey, and what I'm talking here is more based on, my personal experience and what worked for me and what did not work for me. So network with industry experts. So when I started my journey as a medical writer, it was LinkedIn. I had no idea about LinkedIn, so I created a profile there and, reached out to people, did a couple of courses that time just to, kind of come in that community and then start interacting with people. So network with industry experts, seniors, alumni from your university who are already in this field, reach out to, experts in the field and take their advice. Become members of societies and associations which are focused on medical writing. So there are some of them which I have, named in my presentation also. I'll let you know in a couple of minutes. So and enroll yourself in an industry run training program, which is, run by an industry, not a academic training program. That's not going to help you, because you already have that academic knowledge what is required to be a writer. So from an industry run training program, you will get, exposure to the actual type of documents and the actual experience of uh, how it is and, what it looks like. So the best way to learn, if I have to, I need to summarize, it is networking, number one, reading and writing as much as possible. The best way of learning, medical writing, when I, so my specialty is, I work majority of my times, I worked in publication documents and medical communication. So MedComms is my specialty. So when I was working on my initial manuscripts, so I did not have a great mentor that time. The document was just given to me. It was a clinical study report from where a manuscript had to be written, and the time given to me was 5 working days. So normally when we Now when we write a manuscript, we take about 2 to 3 weeks for the first draft. But that time I was given, so the client actually gave that project to the company with whom I was working, only on that condition that the document will be completed in 5 working days. So what I did was, how did I plan those 5 days? First day I read about that whole disease area. So it was a clinical study report where there were around, I guess, some 80 or 90 pages of documents. So I just kind of highlighted all the important results there. I found some manuscripts which were already published, which were around that topic. So that is the quickest way of learning to write a publication, or maybe understand the scientific writing. So I read a couple of publications and then worked on various sections, and wrote them separately in 4 working days, and fifth day was when I collated everything. So this is something like a sprint which I did, which normally doesn't happen. But I'm just telling you that even this is possible if you plan your work properly, and if you know that what is expected and what needs to be done. Now, some of the networking platforms, you have LinkedIn, you have conferences, Facebook, webinars, virtual meetings, Instagram, Twitter. We have our own LinkedIn page where we keep on. So there are two LinkedIn pages that we have. One is for which is open to everyone, and where anybody can come and join. There is a dedicated LinkedIn page which is only for the students who are enrolled with us, and there we normally kind of network with them, and if they have any queries, if they want to ask us anything, so there is a dedicated subject matter expert who responds to those queries. What are the challenges that could be faced in starting of medical writing career as a fresher, and how to overcome them? So Sonalika, this is a very good question. When you start your journey as a medical writer, I the one advice what I can give you is that you should know why are you working on the document. That why is very important. If you know the why, if you know why the client has asked you to write it, where is it going, where is it falling in the whole communication plan, there are chances, very less chances, that you will go wrong. So understanding, so you have to, the moment there are writers whom I have seen, the moment they get a document, they start writing without dwelling into the pre-writing activities. That is very important. You should read a lot, you should understand the topic before you actually start writing. That is number one advice what I can give you.